Hello, and welcome to my final project summary presentation of Hein Online. So my target audience for the Hein Online tutorial that I created was public library patrons. We do get a lot of requests at the library where I work. The reference librarian does get a lot of requests for different legal issues, such as laws to do with employment or injuries and housing. So it's definitely something that would be useful to public library patrons and is important for them to know how to use. Also, the need to fill the information literacy gap is important, not just with law databases, but other pieces of information when using technology. So, the technological bridge for patrons and librarians, that gap, helping that gap close is what's needed. Usually patrons will have varying familiarity with technology, and so this is also helping those patrons become more familiar with these databases and become more familiar with technology. So my reasons for creating the guide was that it's useful to public library patrons because they can find updated and efficient legal information using Hein Online. Usually they try to refer to law books that we have, especially Massachusetts state law books, and that can be rather time consuming, and also the information is not necessarily updated, so they may have difficulty deciphering through that information. Whereas in the database and knowing the correct search techniques, you're able to get more accurate information in an efficient way. So my role was the ability to teach patrons to use an advanced search technique in a complex database. So I used Boolean operators and also proximity operators to show how to narrow a search to make it more effective. I didn't want to make this search just about Boolean operators because usually that's something that you see. It's the most common syntax that you see on databases, and I didn't want to use just that because most people are either see them or are familiar with them. So I wanted to get into a different type of search syntax. So reflecting on this project, there were definitely time constraint difficulties. There were a few times where I had to stop the tutorial and start over because I didn't know what I was talking about, or I just stumbled over my words, or I ended up going over. That caused me to go over the time of 5 minutes. So that was definitely tricky to make that work. I also have difficulty with presenting information, and I'm still trying to work on that. Sometimes I say a lot, so that can be an issue. And also, sometimes I have trouble explaining things in a way that the average person can understand. Sometimes I don't even understand what I'm saying. And so I had difficulty coming up with what to search. I had gone back to Dr. Steiner's presentation on Westlaw, and I know that she was searching circuit court cases and the names of those cases, and I thought maybe I should do something like that. So I was looking up cases in Massachusetts with names like Sacco and Vanzetti, different cases like that, but realized that usually public library patrons aren't looking for, at least not usually, looking for historical cases or, the name of a case. They're just looking for any law pertaining to, they're not looking for the name of a particular law. They're just they want to know what law they need in order to find the correct information. And also using the correct terms for search techniques was a bit of a challenge. So I think that I had trouble. I had to find the word for the tilde symbol. I didn't know what it was until I did this project. So that was definitely a first for me. And overall, I thought it was a really good project, a good learning experience for me, and definitely helping me become a better presenter. I think that it is great for becoming a public librarian in the future, as I know we're definitely more technology driven, and from the classes I've taken, there's definitely being more of a push to do these types of tutorials for public library patrons. And I think it was a great project. Thank you for listening to my summary, and I hope you have a great night.